Welcome to Šilutė, a place where all life revolves around water. You'll find Šilutė district in west of Lithuania, at the delta of Nemunas, the longest river in the country, and by the shores of the Coronian Lagoon. Šilutė district is less than an hour away from Klaipėda, the port city, but it is 300 kilometers away from the capital Vilnius. The population of Šilutė district municipality reaches around 38,000. In recent years, this region is gaining traction when it comes to tourism. Lithuanians are discovering the delta, the abundance of fish, and the local cuisine based on it. Not to forget the unusual to a Lithuanian eye German-style architecture everywhere. Šilutė district, just like Klaipėda, is a part of the Lithuania Minor region. For a long time, these were the Prussian and German lands, so anything older than the 1920s is all part of German history. I briefly talked about this in my video about Klaipėda as well. So, before we dive into the natural beauties of the region, let's first have a look at Šilutė city itself. While it is quite a small city, there is an old town and a river port. In the main street, there are plenty of examples of Lithuania Minor architecture, such as the old post building and the Lutheran church with its tower at 50 meters high. But the main attraction in town is the house of Hugo Shaw. Originally from Klaipėda, or Memel, as it is the historical name of Klaipėda, he purchased Šilutė Manor and came here at the end of the 19th century. With his cultural and social activities, he became a patron of the town. He donated a lot of land from Šilutė Manor to the city for the construction of a school, the already mentioned church, and more. Hugo Shaw decorated the manor in a style that is distinct to Klaipėda region. The entrance to the yard is especially interesting. Today, the house is the Museum of Šilutė history and well worth a visit. On the other side of the street is the central old market square of Šilutė. There were some of the largest markets held here since the 16th century. These days, the square is also extended to a lovely riverside amphitheater, one of the local favorite places to relax. And in between the square and Hugo Shaw's house, there is an interesting old bridge, for some reason colored in yellow. These types of bridges are quite uncommon in Lithuania. And the river Šyša that crosses the town is interesting on its own. There are long pathways along the bank for lovely walks, and the river is full of fish. No wonder I saw fishermen here even on a Monday morning. Šyša River is also used for boating as it connects to Nemunas Delta. The small boat port in Šilutė is a great place to rent a boat for fishing, tours around the delta, or in the summertime, even a ferry across the lagoon to Nida. And this takes us to our next place, Nemunas Delta Regional Park, which takes quite a big portion of the district and is the main attraction of Šilutė district. It is the third largest regional park in the country, spanning almost 290 square kilometers. This breathtaking nature reserve is unique in Lithuania, with its lowlands creating a haven for wildlife, especially birds. This is the #1 place in Lithuania to go for bird watching. The Nemunas Delta wetlands are considered globally significant and are protected under the Ramsar Convention, safeguarding the delta's wildlife. Every year, thousands of birds migrate through here. It's like a pit stop for all those migrating between the north and south of Europe. So, bird enthusiasts look forward every year to spring and autumn migration. Furthermore, the delta is home to more than 300 rare species of birds, which stay here through the summer. So even then there is lots to see for a keen eye. And this takes us to a must-visit attraction within the park, Ventės Cape Ornithological Station, a renowned birdwatching destination. Ideally situated at the cape between the delta and the Coronian Lagoon, it has one of the first bird ringing stations in Europe still in operation, which was opened here in 1929. Here you can observe migratory birds in thousands, making their annual journey along the East Atlantic Flyway in spring and autumn. I visited here at the beginning of the summer, so it's not really the season, but there were quite a lot of birds in the lagoon. Ventės Cape also has this small lighthouse built in 1863, which is open freely for visitors. The ornithological station also offers educational exhibits, and sometimes there are guided birdwatching tours. Another place that is now quite famous in Lithuania is Minge village, situated further in between the wetlands. It is the only village in the country where the main mode of transportation is a boat. Minge, or Minia, is a tiny fishing village formed in the 19th century, where the main street is actually the river Minia, dividing it into two sides. The architecture here is typical for the 19th century fishing village in Lithuania Minor, and luckily it is being preserved. These days, Minge is popular for boat trips. There are boat rentals for fishing, tours through the rivers of the delta, and a large lake called Krokulanka behind the village. A perfect place for birdwatching. We came here early in the morning with a slightly different plan in mind, taking a ferry across the Curonian lagoon to Nida. There are many places in Šilutė district where you can do that. There are several places with ferries by the lagoon, such as from Ventės Cape and deeper in the river network like Uostadvaris and Šilutė town, which I mentioned before. However, all this is very seasonal, and you should check before going or book in advance. Nonetheless, taking the ferry was the highlight of my trip this time. Since we left early morning, the delta was teeming with wildlife, birds flying in flocks everywhere, others hunting for fish. It was a beautiful boat ride, providing a glimpse of the regional park's nature. And once the river meets the lagoon, the views were yet more different, with a vast laguna all around with small sandy islands overtaken by birds, and Ventės Cape in the distance. And the destination, Nida, is another similar style fishing village turned into a popular seaside resort these days. It's well worth going there for a day trip or more to enjoy its pristine beaches and wonderful sand dunes. If you want to get to know Nida and the whole district situated on the long-stretching Curonian spit, I have made a video about that too, to which I will leave a link in the description below. So let's go back to Nemunas Delta Regional Park, as there is much more to see here. Another interesting spot here is Rusnė Island, situated right at the border to Kaliningrad, Russia. Yes, it's just across the river. Rusnė makes headlines in Lithuania every spring. The island becomes almost inaccessible due to spring floods. The bridges built in the fields may look strange in the summer, but in spring they are barely enough to fight through the water. What we find after all those bridges is a little bit of everything I have mentioned so far. The wetlands of the regional park with some educational paths, lots of boats, architecture is like in Šilutė and Minge combined, and even a small village called Uostadvaris, which also has a similar lighthouse like at Ventės Cape. Rusnė is also home to the visitor center of Nemunas Delta Regional Park. In Rusnė town center there is an old church built in the early 19th century and the lovely path by the river, which interestingly has a sculpture of Mahatma Gandhi together with Hermann Kallenbach. The latter grew up in Rusnė and later became close friends with Gandhi. Interesting. Rusnė Island is a popular place to visit for those who love fish and seafood. There are many shops selling smoked fish, and every September there is a championship for making fish soup, the traditional food of the region. But it is not necessary to visit the island to enjoy it. The whole region is known for its fish dishes, and there are many fish restaurants around. I got a recommendation from my sister who loves this region to visit a restaurant called Mėlynasis karpis, the blue carp, near Kintai town. It's actually a hotel too, where you can stay in a boat on the river. Anyway, I was pleasantly surprised by the food. There is a good variety of local fish dishes available. It was delicious and, considering the size of the dishes, reasonably priced. After a filling meal, it's time to have a look at Kintei, another fishing village, but this one is situated right at the coast of the Curonian Lagoon. There is also some lovely regional architecture, including a small museum and an art gallery. But what really brings people here is the coast, kite surfing, and lovely nature around. There is a camping site there too. One good place to have a wide look around the lagoon is at an observation tower next to a small beach. There are some nature trails along the coast as well, with more bird watching stations too. Speaking of trails, the regional park has quite many educational trails all around, and even one through a swamp in Aukštumala. So those who love to spend time in nature will definitely find places to go to. Before we finish, I would like to show you what Šilutė district looks like on the other side, where it was not part of Lithuania Minor. For that, let's visit a small town, Švėkšna, which really caught my eye on the way to Šilutė. Švėkšna looks more like the rest of Lithuania, and it is a part of Samogitijoje historical region. But it has quite a distinct town center. There is a large and wide stone-paved market square with old buildings surrounding it, which leads to the massive neo-Gothic church. It is one of the tallest in Lithuania, at 65 meters height. But what really is interesting is that it has a little red brick bridge above the road. This leads us to the park of a small manor house called Villa Genovefa. The lands here belonged to Plater noble family for centuries, and we built the villa in 1880. It was used during hunting trips in the area, which explains quite a small house for a family of counts. Fortunately, after the Soviet nationalization of the estate, Villa Genovefa was returned back to the owners in 2001, who renovated the house and the park as we see it today. The villa has a beautiful park adorned with classical sculptures, perfect for a short walk. Overall, I really enjoyed the trip to Šilutė district, which is definitely worth getting to even from Vilnius. In recent years, the region is gaining traction among Lithuanian travelers who seek a different landscape compared to the rest of the country. It is definitely one of the best places in Lithuania for those who enjoy fishing, sailing, and bird watching. The district is also very suitable for bicycle trips, especially in the Nemunas Delta Regional Park, and I can't recommend enough taking a boat trip. That is essential when in Šilutė. So, see you in Šilutė district, and thanks for watching!